people, welcome back. I'm Nat at Mud Magic. Thank you for joining me again for a bubble glazing video today. So I've had a few bubble glaze pieces come out of the kiln lately, and I've had quite a few people contact me and ask me to do a video on it. So I've done a video in the past, but I have changed it a tiny little bit and it's so much better. So I thought, I don't have anything I need to bubble glaze, and then I realised I didn't know how I wanted to glaze this piece. I was a bit confused. All I knew is I wanted a solid colour at the top here. So I've decided to bubble glaze it and then just colour the same underglaze in the top. So you need bisqueware, you need dry bisqueware. If you've sanded and wiped back your bisqueware, that's great, you need to do that too. But then you want to leave it to be completely dry, because if you've got moisture on your bisqueware from doing that, when you put the bubbles on, they just will slide off if there's any kind of moisture on there. So make sure it's dry, let it dry as well. So I've also just grabbed a couple of extra little spoon rests where the texture didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I thought I'll just use them as well. So I'm going to just probably put clear inside it, maybe a rim of the colour on the top there. So I'm not going to bubble inside that one. So I'll kind of show you how I do the inside, even though it's the flat on the spoon rests. So what you need is newspaper. If you can't get it anymore, we're very retro in Australia. Where I live, I'm very lucky that we still get a local community paper at our local shopping centre. There's just a pile of them free, so you can just go and grab as many as you want. So while they're still available, I'm grabbing them. So paper towel, doesn't matter, anything to absorb it. And then you just want to do a very trickle of water, and then you just want to get any kind of spoon, so 3 scoops, 3 spoonfuls of water. So I just use like a dessert spoon size for this one. If you want to make more because you're doing a bigger piece, or you want to make more because you're doing the inside and the outside, you need more bubbles, whatever reason, then just use a bigger. It doesn't matter, there's no mils, or because it's 3 of these. So if you do 3 bigger ones, you're still doing the same recipe, if that makes sense. So then you get whatever underglaze colour that you want to use. And you know I'm crazy on kiwi at the moment, so that's the one I'm using, lavender purple. This is a test for me as well, because I wanted to see, you know, everybody, including kiwi, go on about how their pinks and purples stay. I've never had a purple stay on bubble glazing. I've had a dark pink spectrum English rose, that stayed because it's very dark. This is not the darkest, in fact it's one of the lighter purples, but I didn't want to cover up the butterflies too much, so I'm hoping it won't burn off too much, but we'll see. So you do 1 of them, so 3 water, 1 full of your underglaze. So it does use a bit of underglaze, and at the moment I've only got those small bottles of kiwi, but as I use them, because I got the 50 pack, as I use them up, I'm going to replace any that I really like with the full size bottles. And then you want to do 3. Now this is one of the things I've changed. I used to use hand washing liquid soap, and it worked okay, but it used to pool and puddle a lot. So I switched to dishwashing liquid. So I don't know whether the brand or anything matters, I doubt it, but it's just dishwashing liquid. So I just do, and then you do 3 of them, but this doesn't really drip. So I just kind of just rough guess it. 3 or 4 drips, whatever. And then that's it. And then, straw, I usually stir it with the straw. I don't know why, I just do. Gets in there better, I think. Try and get the colour off the side, because you don't want like thick bits of colour coming up with your bubbles. That's the kind of cup I use. I've tried using a pottery cup, an old pottery cup that I made that I had, and the bubbles tend to slide back down the pottery for some reason. So, I mean, it still works, but you just got to bubble more. So then when you're blowing your bubbles, the softer you blow, the littler bubbles you'll get. So if you like that look of the tiny little bubbles, which I love, blow softly. If you like the big bubbles, blow hard. If you like both, hard and soft, which is what I usually tend to do. Not out of choice. It just seems to happen. So you get your piece of bisque. I've got to be careful with this because even though this has been bisqued, if you touch transfers after they're bisqued, they will still wipe off. So I've got it on a turntable, obviously, so I can spin it as I am bubbling. So I'll move everything else out of the way so I don't hit it with a newspaper. And then you'll find as well that, which I like, your bubbles, it will come down to the bottom here and pull, and you'll get a solid rim of the underglaze colour here. For this piece, it doesn't matter because I'm going to colour that top bit solid anyway. But if you're not, if you're bubbling to the rim, I actually quite like that. And then you can get the same colour underglaze if it's not quite smooth and just touch up around the rim with a solid colour. Now, I've not done a tall bubble piece, so I'm not too hopeful. So this is also another test on how I will go with such a tall piece, because I think the bubbles are going to run down. But this new technique, they don't run as much. Using the new soap, they don't tend to run and pull as much. So I'm hopeful. So I've also got a step stool, so when I get up the top, I can stand up and get the top. So I'll just go for it and show you. So you just bubble, and it'll bring them up to the rim of the cup. Don't tip it too much because you tip your underglaze out. You've got to be conscious of that. So you can see I've got little and big bubbles in there. And then you keep going and you just let it tip over and just go for it. Oh, and that's what I was going to say as well. Don't start at the top. If you start at the top, it's going to pop and dribble and you're going to get run lines. We might get run lines because this is so tall, and I'll show you. I get a sponge and clean them up. I'll show you how I do that as well. And yeah, so if you start at the bottom, you can pile your bubbles up on top of each other. You also can get that swirl look, which I don't know if I'm going to like that on the butterflies because I want the butterflies still to stand out, but I'm not going to be able to help that. It will be what it will be. So you saw then when I was doing that, some of the bubbles down the bottom kind of popped by the time I got round. That's fine, just go over that spot until you get it all done. So it's all popping away here. Because I have got a window here, that's probably not really helping the situation, having a bit of a breeze coming in. So I really like that, but the problem is whether it's going to burn off, being just the purple. So you just let it sit and set and pop. watch it, because you can see through the bubbles, so you can see if it's doing anything you don't particularly want it to do. If you get spots that are missed, which that's not, but you can just get it with your hand and wipe it back in and onto the, you know, just move them around. And if you pop them now, these outside ones don't matter, they're not touching anyway. Just use them and reposition them. So then when you think that it's enough, you can just blow it off, which is fun too. If I blow it this way, it'll go into the sink. So you can see, oh, it got some on my hand. There's a little missing hole there, so I'll put them there. You can see how, can you see? Yeah, all the underglaze is all pulled down the bottom on the newspaper. That's what I'm saying. I don't mind that, because then you get a rim of underglaze around the rim of the pot, which if I'm doing a mug or something, I really like that. But as I say, I'm going to paint this one, so it doesn't matter. Well, maybe I won't. Actually, I quite like the bubbles that are on there. So then you can also get, this one's quite good, but you can get spots where there's big bubbles, like a big round bubble, so it looks like you've missed a patch. So just get little bubbles and put them in there. So that I've just noticed, I don't know if you can see this white patch here that's been missed. So then I'll just get some bubbles. The bigger ones don't tend to scoop up as well, but if you can kind of pop them in. If you get to the little ones, they'll hold on your hands, and then you can just place on any missed pieces, just place some bubbles. Again, let them sit there for a minute. There's another bit there that I've missed. So you see there, if you, I'll show you again. Because I don't know whether I did that in camera. So if I've got just a little bit left on my hands like that, I'll push it with these fingers. See how it's kind of sticking out, and that makes it easier to then place it on to wherever you want them. I'm actually quite happy with that. There's a little bit there that's a bit paler. So then this bit here, yeah, that was the bit that was all white there. So if I blow that off now, see, it's got all bubbles all over it now. I hope you can see that. So I'm really happy with that. I'm actually really happy with how that has not dribbled with such a tall piece. So it's definitely the different kind of soap that I'm using, that it's much more stable. So that's the trick. So I'm really, really, really wiping my hands, because you can touch it now. It dries really fast. You can touch it and turn it over, but obviously if your hands have a little bit of moisture on them, you're just going to put fingerprints where you have put the underglaze. So I'm just going to take that off, throw that in, and then you can see, I hope you can see with the bum. Always love the bum because it's flat. It always works really well. If it doesn't burn off, I think that's going to be really pretty. So then you just set it aside, blow any extras off if you want it. If you've got any dribbles like that, I was going to show you that. So you can see here that I've got dribbles. So if I get one of the mud tools, because they're really thin sponges, you can use any sponge, but if you use one of the thick yellow sponges, it is harder to get in there. So if you can see there's a little dribble down from that butterfly. So if you just get your yellow sponge, because you've got white patches between the bubbles anyway. So if you get your sponge and wipe off the dribble, but try and leave the round bubble. So you can see there now the bottom line of that round bubble is still there, but I took the line off from the top and the bottom. If you take too much, just scoop some bubbles with your hand and pop it back on. That's fine. I might leave the rest. It just looks like veining anyway. I really love that. I hope that stays. So now I'll show you quickly what I mean by, the, I don't know where I put that newspaper, the other one, new newspaper. Oh, here it is. So I just use one piece, fold it over. These pieces here. So just imagine this is a bowl. So this is the exact same thing that you do with a bowl or a mug if you really want to go inside a mug. I prefer with bubble glazing to line the inside of a mug, because if you try and bubble glaze inside, if it's bellied, it tends to go, the bubbles tend to go straight down. They don't go in the belly, and this all ends up white in the belly, and trying to then push your bubbles in, it's just really hard. So I tend to just glaze the inside. So I don't have many bubbles left, but I'll see if I can do this and show you. So I would normally, if it's a bowl, I would hold it. Kind of running out of bubbles. Okay, and then if you want to do, I'm not going to do the outside of this, but what I would normally do, if I do a bowl, I'll do the inside and the outside. So I would hold that, and then when it's done what I think is enough, so you can really see through the bubbles what's happening. Now, normally with my old technique, all those bubbles would have popped and the underglaze would have pulled like you saw on the newspaper. You get all the liquid underglaze and it just becomes a colour. It doesn't become bubbles. So you do have to watch that just in case that does happen. But then normally what I would do with that, once it's just set just for that long, it doesn't take long at all. And see how you've got the little and big bubbles. And then I would turn it over on the paper. Well, I might as well just do it because I wanted to test that as well. So I don't know if you saw in my last kiln unload, I had that big green bubbled bowl and I was so disappointed because it cracked. And I said that it's probably because I bubbled the bottom. I didn't put clear on obviously, but I had still got the underglaze. And Kiwi underglazes are fluxed underglazes, which I'll talk about in my Kiwi video that I'm going to do. These are Kiwi as well, so I'm going to use these in the video as well if they work. Or even if they don't actually, just to show what does and doesn't stay. So if it stays, I'll be really impressed. But I had a few people, because I thought it was because of the fluxed underglaze that it must have stuck to the shelf and that caused the bottom to crack, even though it had released off the shelf. So I had a few people contact me and say, no, they've used Kiwi on the bottom, it didn't happen to them. So being that these are just spoon rests, I don't care about them, I'm going to do the same with this and with these, because that's quite a big surface. Like the other one was only a foot ring, that's quite a big surface, so I'll be able to test and just see how they go straight on the shelf. So that's that one. Oh, I love that technique so much. And then it also looks great with the overglaze decals like turtles or real colourful turtles. I haven't done it on underglaze ones before, so that will be interesting with the butterfly. And then I'll just do this one if I've got enough bubbles left. You can also wait for them to pop and they become liquid and you can still keep using it. So that was really interesting to show you. I hope you saw that. I don't know, I wasn't looking in the camera. But that the very first bubbles that came and tipped over, there was a like a blob of wet underglaze on there. So normally I would just quickly move that over and put that onto the paper. But I just put it on there, it doesn't matter, I can wash this off. It might be because I'm getting to the bottom of the bubbles as well, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And that's the beauty of doing this as well. If you don't like how it turns out, just wash it off. It's bisqued, so you're not going to hurt anything by washing it. Don't do it on greenware. It just doesn't work. I don't know. I think because of the moisture content in the greenware, maybe, that the bubbles just sort of run off. But it's, well, I mean, it'll work, but it's not as successful. So that one you can see here, that solid colour, that's where the colour dropped in, which I don't care, I don't mind it. But that's just interesting. And the other thing you can do as well, if it comes out of the kiln and you're not happy with it, glaze over the top of it. It's only underglaze. You can put a solid glaze over the top of it and it'll just disappear. Really scraping the bottom of the barrel now. But that's good because it means I haven't wasted any of that underglaze. So this is what I'm saying, you can just get bubbles out and put them on. Even if that stayed white round the side, that would be fine. So that is bubbling. Oh, that's going to tip over. Oh, I love doing that so much. And like, how easy is that if you're bored of glazing like me, if you hate glazing like me, just do bubble under glazing, and then all you've got to do is put clear on it. If it comes out and you love it, put clear on it and you're done. Which is what I'll do with the butterflies if they don't burn off. If they do burn off, I'll just put a celadon over it or something. It doesn't matter. Which you can do with this as well. You can bubble under glaze with black underglaze bubbles, and then put a really pale celadon, like aqua ice, one of those, a real pale one over the top, and you'll see the black bubbles underneath. As long as it's really pale celadon, you don't want to put anything too dark or you won't see it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learnt something. You'll see them come through the kiln. Thank you very much for watching. Stay muddy and have a magic day.